Thank you very much. And now I would like to call on Michelle Maldonado, who is with Denver Kids and has had already a tremendous impact on our club. It's our newest blue badge, and she's going to herself make a quick introduction. Michelle, the microphone is yours.
So one weekend, I'm already going to break the rules. I'm actually going to have Debbie Dawson-Thomas do the moment of inspiration. She has been an educational counselor with Denver Kids for 32 years. So I thought she could speak for the inspirational moment much better than I could.
Hello everyone. Please allow me to share an inspirational moment with all of you. I'm inspired by the Rotarians in this room, who have come together under one guiding principle: service above self.
Hold down.
As a Denver Kids educational counselor and the daughter of a past district governor and past president of this club, I'm blessed to be an integral part of this organization. As an educational counselor, there are many stories that I could share with you about students in the Denver Public Schools who have been helped by your direct support. For example, one of my 9th grade girls went to Winter Park this past Sunday to receive ski lessons, along with 45 other Denver Kids students and their mentors. This student lives below the poverty line, earned straight A's at South High School, and would never have had this opportunity would it not be for all of you. Your support made it possible for me to help a teen mother return to high school this week to complete her junior year. If it were not for your support, she would be sitting at home alone in an apartment with little or no contact with the outside world. It has been an honor to deliver the Rotary High School scholarship checks to many Denver Kids students over the years who are low income and have high achieving grades who need a little extra support to save money for college or meet basic needs. I have been the educational counselor to several Rotarians in this room because they have given their time and energy to act as mentors to our students. You see, our students have goals and dreams to be just like you. They want to be CEOs of companies, they want to be lawyers, they want to be doctors, they want to be community leaders. You have shared your expertise and wisdom in other ways too, by opening up your offices to tours so that our students can see the connection between school and work. Your sensitivity and understanding in these various capacities has helped to make a difference in the lives of our young people. To think that Rotary International recognized this club in its magazine several years ago and stated that this is the only collaboration of this kind in the world. You are the inspiration for Denver Kids, now 70 years old. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you most importantly for who you are.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Listen, the buffet is open. It's Italian, so that means that there are many cannolis. Let's go and load up. There's 2 or 3 tables interspersed. There are the narrower tables, you know, like schoolroom kind of tables, so that you're closer to the person across. And by making noise, let me know if there's any interest of those of you that would like that. All right, that gives me a little bit of indication. We'll see what we can negotiate with the DAC. Now, for the Secretary's report, Brian Geis, the guy that sells cars like nobody else.
Thank you, President Andrew. A couple of reminders, announcements. Our next fellowship's right around the corner on March 24th. We still need some sponsors for that pretty quickly. If you'd like to host, please see Lauren after the meeting or contact Fellowship Chair Don Caney. In lieu of February's Rotary Connect Happy Hour, we are forming a Rotary Polio Plus team for the February 23rd grocery cart races. This will help support the purchase preparation of 65,000 meals for homeless families and individuals being sheltered at the Comitas Crisis Center. Rotary Connect will resume the next month at the Walnut Room. You can use the sponsor for that. please see Lonnie Langton or Debbie Kaufman if you'd like to get involved in that. Scholastic Achievement Award Expo will be on Thursday evening, March 3rd at the History Museum from 5:30 to 7:30. Reservations are required to attend. This will be in lieu of our regular club meeting. It is strictly a social cocktail event. Come and see what the Denver Rotary Club Foundation money is helping to support. There's several birthdays today. If you're here, I know Harry's here, Rick, Chris Rose, John Altman, and Roland Thorpe. If you're here, please stand up. Happy birthday. One guest to announce, Ted Gassenbauer is a guest of Ed Heath. Please stand up and be recognized. Welcome. Back to you.
Well, I was enjoying my Redmond bar. Thank you, Brian. So, you know, we have Rotarians, and then we have some extraordinary Rotarians. Now we're going to hear from an extraordinary Rotarian, because she's right now on a leave of absence, but she is still as dedicated as ever. So to the brave child of our Dancing Through the Decades, to give us a full report, please welcome Ms. Mallory.
Thank you, everyone. I'll be quick because we'll actually have more details in tomorrow's QA along with some photos of everything. And as Andre mentioned, I was in charge of Dancing Through the Decades this past year for our annual major fundraiser. And I learned some things about putting on the fundraiser and just kind of getting through this. First, Rotarians are fabulous dancers. There were some people on the dance floor, and I had never seen them dance before, and they were boogieing down. Young Cho, are you here? Yeah, Young Cho, danced me around the dance floor a bit, and great dancer, Young. Young's a great dancer. If you haven't had a chance to dance with Young, he's a great dancer. Second, Rotarians come together and we get it done. We had maybe a little bit, 5 months or so, to come up with a whole new fundraising idea and put it all together. And I want to thank the boards of the Rotary Club of Denver, the Denver Rotary Club Foundation, as well as Denver Kids for all their efforts in helping us to get this organized, get the idea going, and put it all together. Without our club and our foundation, as well as our partnership with Denver Kids, I don't think we would have had the success that we did. Rotarians, as you might imagine, are very generous. We had this totally new idea. We weren't sure of the details, and we had some incredible sponsors step up and support our event. In particular, our decade champion sponsors, Pete Wall, Melly Kennard, UMB Bank, Jared Middle and Financial Designs Limited, Dorsey at Whitney, as well as the boards of our club, our foundation, and Denver Kids. We also had AMG, who contributed, once again, generally this year with a donation, as well as our auction sponsors, who donated their vacation homes, Jared Middle, Peg Johnson, and Alice Bullwinkle, who actually donated her main cottage twice for us. So it was very generous and helped our auction results, as well as Mary Penny, who got us a really incredible tour of the Denver Crime Lab, which is an exclusive thing you can't just sign up and do. So thank you, everyone. Last but not least, I have an incredible group of people in this club who I reached out to for assistance and volunteering. There's a fabulous group of women. I think women in this club really rock. And I want to thank Debbie Kaufman, who got us those incredible dancers, who helped us get everyone on the dance floor boogieing. Debbie Beasley and Sue Davis Hornby for their assistance with sponsorship, ticket sales, decor, and setup. Ladies, it was glitter. Yes, Debbie Beasley loves glitter, so you got to keep her away from the glitter stick. As well, and I know I said ladies, but Warren Donder, also, maybe he was a little too much women in the group, but Warren Donner was incredible with sponsorships, and I want to thank Warren as well. Christine Fielder with Denver Kids, who worked with us on the Denver Kids side to help promote the event, coordinate, and get everything going. We couldn't have done it without Christine. Darlene Mast, as always, nothing gets done without Darlene, and she was incredible in helping me, figure out the details of what we needed to do, as well as keeping track of the money, which is a big deal. And last but not least, I want to thank Allison Euler-Mitch. Allison, if you haven't met her, she does event planning in our club, and she is an event planning goddess. That's all I can say. This event would have never happened without her. We sat and brainstormed ideas, and she made the event what it is. So I can't thank you much, Allison, for everything. So, with all that, I am delighted to report that we raised $74,169.68 for our foundation next year to help contribute to grants next year. So let's everybody give a hand. And we'll be thanking everyone in more detail, because there are tons of people who I did not mention who also sponsored, gave generously in the paddleways and so forth. And so we'll be thanking everyone in more detail tomorrow's Keyway. So please look at that. You'll also get to see the pictures. Lots of pictures to share. So thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. That's extraordinary. It's terrific results. So where is Old Joe? Where are you, Old Joe? Stand up, please, for a moment. He opened up his house in the mountains this weekend, and there were 21 guests at his house for Korean dinner after a day of skiing. And he told us that he is Old Joe. But after dinner, he went for a 30-minute walk, restless in the nook of the north. To me, you're still young Joe. So, thank you, young. And he did tell us, 21 this year, next year 30, or do no more. So next year we have to have 30. All right, so thank you, young. Much appreciated. Now, the immediate past chair of the board of our foundation, Alice Baldwin-Hill, who is also one of the extraordinary volunteers in our community.
Thank you, Andre. Looking forward to giving this check to Denver Kids. But before, I want to talk to you a little bit. Last year, I gave you the history of Denver Kids. Its founding in 1946 with Denver Rotary members and our partnership with Denver Public Schools to meet the needs of the boys who were going to work and leaving high school because their fathers hadn't returned from World War II and they needed to support their families. This year, I want to update you on the current status of Denver Kids. Let's start with statistics. 10 years ago, the Denver Public School population was 58,000 students. Today, it's 90,000. But in 10 years, the percentage of free and reduced lunch students has remained the same, 70%. Denver Kids are predominantly drawn from this population, so there's a large increased need for Denver Kids services to help these students complete high school. 3 years ago, the board of Denver Kids adopted a plan for rapid growth in student services to be faithful to the Denver Kids mission. Every student counts. Every student graduates. The action plan to achieve this goal focused on growth of the educational counseling staff. Salary costs increased dramatically. With growth also came the need to evaluate and affirm the quality of our counseling product, and the board instituted a program of training and certification, which was funded by a $50,000 grant from a local family foundation, to assure that as DKI grew, they could maintain the consistently strong counselor team. Before I finish, I want to address candidly two of the questions that I think it comes to me in my role as past president of the foundation. hear from Rotarians about Denver Kids. First, what is going on with the Denver Kids leadership team? A year ago, our president was offered a challenging new job. With 2 kids in college and a hefty increase in salary on offer, she accepted that opportunity. Denver Kids had a strong chief operating officer in place and immediately began a job search. A new executive started late last summer. Within a short time, though, it became apparent that the mix of new and old team members was dysfunctional, and both new and old members of the team resigned within a very short time. Today, we have the current interim chief operating officer, Mary Hanwell. Will you stand, Mary? And our new our new interim program consultant, who was once, just not long ago, the chief executive of Denver Kids, Margaret Cromer, with us. I'm so happy that they could be here today and witness our gift and express or receive our appreciation. So top management is very fine, and we are expecting to have an answer of a new managing partner or chief executive officer in a few months. The second issue I sometimes hear is that DKI has plenty of money anyway, and they really don't need us anymore. You should know that this belief is completely inaccurate. Although Rotary funding is a smaller amount than in some recent years, but not, oddly enough, in the majority of our giving years, it is vital. Not only does it secure a significant portion of the DKI budget, but Rotary giving brings with it the participation of a large number of Rotarians as board members and advisors. And finally, just knowing that Rotary is committed to this project often helps us secure corporate funding that we also need. The trustees of the Denver Rotary Club Foundation remain deeply grateful for the many Rotarians who, as an outreach of their support of Rotary, fund our foundation and our fundraisers. Through your efforts, you have enabled the foundation to present this check for $100,000 to Billy Brown. Billy is the chairman of Denver Kids Board of Directors.
Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you for having me here. As Alice mentioned, I'm the current board chair, and I want to give you a little bit of history. Thanks, Andre. I used to be a counselor for Denver Kids. I was a counselor for Denver Kids for about 6 years. And on several occasions, I was invited to be a part of the luncheon with our seniors or with our kids, and I had a great time. One quick memory, though, is I brought a kid to a luncheon, and you guys were serving grilled chicken and broccoli. And of course, the student looked at me and looked at the plate and said, "What is this?" I said, "It's grilled chicken and broccoli." And I said, "Will you please eat it? Because, this is your lunch." Next thing you know, the plate was clean and no complaints. The next year, I don't know if someone brought it up that kids were complaining about the food, so you guys served hamburgers. And then the same student came up to me and said, "Billy, where's the chicken and broccoli?" So, those are the things that the students are privileged to have because of the relationship between the Rotary Club of Denver and Denver Kids. If you can imagine going through life without having someone to give you that input, to give you that advice on the little things like grilled chicken and broccoli, it's good for you, you should eat it. Or how to shake a man's hand and look him in the eyes when you're doing it. Or, hey, why don't you get involved in extracurricular activities like student council? All those things make a big difference. And really, it's because of the relationship that we've had with Rotary for the last 70 years, the deep impact that what we've come up with $4.3 million over the last 70 years have done, it's tremendous. And I just want to say thank you. I want to recognize a few Rotarians that have been volunteer mentors over the years. I might miss a few, so I apologize. Charlie Miller, thank you very much. Mary Penny, Jim Mack, Pete Wall. I just want to say thank you for all that you guys have done. And I also want to present another award. Why don't you come on up? Actually, Andre and Alice. Right here is a Community Impact Award that we are presenting Denver Rotary Club. And I wanted to say thank you so much for all the hard work that you guys have done over the years. It's a privilege and an honor to be associated with you. And we hope, pray that we can get another 70 more years. Maybe with some new members, obviously, but nonetheless, we want to make sure that you guys are awarded this award. We really, really would appreciate it. It's pretty heavy. And thank you again for the check. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Billy. What a great organization. Tell you what, if you have a big project in mind, like you want to clear all the homes of your block so you have your house and nothing else, you see Steve Mast, civil engineering firm. And to introduce our speaker, here is Steve Mast.
Thank you, I think, Andre. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce a guest of Paul's today, Ron Williams. And Ron is the chair of the National Western Stock Show, so I guess Paul's boss, or one of Paul's many bosses. But anyway, Ron has been very, very involved with the National Western over the years, and as I told him at lunch, I see him as a gem of the state, and one of the folks that we're very lucky to have involved in our state. So thank you, Ron. It gives me great pleasure to be able to introduce our distinguished speaker and Denver Rotary Club member, an all-around good guy, Paul Andrews. As you read in the Keyway, Paul grew up in Lakewood and worked summers on his grandfather's ranch in Golden. And after he finished college, he worked for the Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche. He started in ticket sales and worked his way up to the executive vice president of president of Kroenke Sports Enterprises. In 2010, Paul joined the National Western Stock Show as their president and CEO. Denver Rotary and the National Western Stock Show have a long and rich relationship. When I joined Rotary in 1982, Chuck Sylvester was the member representing the National Western. Then Pat Grant took over, and now Paul is continuing the tradition. My guess is the National Western Stock Show has been a member since their inception. The National Western Stock Show is a Denver tradition. When there were talks that they may move out to Aurora to join the Gaylord Project, the city of Denver and its citizens wouldn't let it happen. Paul has done a tremendous job during his 6 years. It's my understanding that 2 of those 6 were their highest attendance years. He is leading the charge now to keep the National Western in Denver and restructuring it so that it will be around for future generations to enjoy. I can't think of a better person for the job than Paul. Please join me in welcoming Paul Andrews.
Well, thank you. I never get introduced that well. Thank you so much, Steve. That's very nice of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you today. If you read Lauren's email, it was Dress Western Day. I'm not seeing too many hats out there, too many boots, but we won't have a hand gesture seeing how many people actually read that, but I read it, so I'm here. Anyway, thank you. Today we're going to learn a little bit about the past of the National Western. We're going to talk about the current state, and then we're going to talk about the future. I promise to be done in 15 minutes and leave time for all of you to ask any questions you may have. So first of all, we're going to talk about the past. The National Western Stock Show was founded in 1906. Right at what is now the confluence of I-70 and Brighton Boulevard. We had a big tent that year in 1906. We showed 351 head of livestock in our show, and CSU won the Grand Champion steer that year. So celebration of the Western way of life and the Western values. So fast forward to today, we are known now as the Super Bowl of livestock shows. We had over 16,000 head of livestock at the National Western Stock Show this last January. We had 42 states represented. We had 35 countries represented at the National Western Stock Show this last year. We are truly the Super Bowl of stock shows. But more than that, we've grown into a largest agricultural trade show in Colorado. We had over 800 booth spaces at the National Western this past January. We are one of the most prestigious horse shows in the country, with horse enthusiasts from all over the country bringing their horses to compete here in January. And finally, as you know, we have tremendous rodeos, and I'm sure many of you have been to them. We had 30 rodeos in 16 days, and we are one of the most favored rodeos in all of the association. So the National Western has grown by leaps and bounds, you can tell, since 1906. And so we now are faced with trying to develop the future. And that's what we're going to focus on a little bit today, the future of the National Western, which will be known as the National Western Center. And the National Western Center is going to be a unique confluence of economic development, tourism, education, research, and Western art and culture. And I'm going to go over each one of those with you here momentarily. Setting up this redevelopment of the complex at I-70 in Brighton was a ballot measure this past November that passed. That was ballot measure 2C. We had to have a major funding source. That major funding source is a 1.75% of a tax on hotel rooms and rent-a-cars. So actually none of the citizens of Denver are actually paying this tax unless they're staying in hotel rooms down here or renting cars frequently. So that 1.75% will be redirected to the National Western Center. And that vote passed by 65% yes, which is truly a solid number. But more than that, there are 346 precincts in Denver, and every single precinct voted yes by more than 50%. Now I'm told that is very, very rare. So we're very excited about the enthusiasm that exists for the National Western, and now it'll be our job to move it forward with our partners. But before we get to all of the future planning, I need to just run you through quickly our current site conditions. Those of you that attended the stock show this year, of which we had 686,000 people plus at this year's stock show, second highest of all time, a tremendous figure. We also generated economic impact of about $100 million at the stock show this January. And that's been traditional for us. So every year, it's around $100 million of economic impact. But the site is overwhelming us as an association. The deferred maintenance on the complex grounds, all the buildings and so forth, is more than $100 million. And the site plan is not ideal. The site plan that we're currently in, if you'd have started in 1906 and knew we were going to grow to what we are today, you never would have situated our buildings in a site plan like we are in today. So we need to change those factors, and we also need to put the National Western in a business plan that can be a sustainable business plan versus the challenges that we face today with our current business plan being overrun by the needs of the complex. So this isn't the first time that a city has faced this problem with their livestock show. In Chicago, in the early 1900s, Chicago all the way up until about 1970 was the biggest, most prestigious livestock show in the country. There was nothing close to Chicago. Well, Chicago, unfortunately, was facing the same problems we were facing in about 1960, trying to get a deal done with their city because the building and grounds were overwhelming them. And unfortunately, they did not get that deal done. Chicago closed their doors in the early 70s, and a competitor in Louisville took over their show, and they are thriving today. But a sad, sad state for the Chicagoans in the early 70s. I'm sure all of them would tell you what a great loss that was to their city. But fortunately, we had some partners that got together about 3 years ago and decided it was time to do something. Obviously, you know what our challenges are. We met with the city of Denver first, and Mayor Hancock, and we asked him, we need help. We need a plan that changes our future. Will you help us? And he said, absolutely. So he put his team together, and our team together, and with Ron Williams and the board, we all started talking together about what a future plan might look like. For Denver, they wanted an entryway to downtown that they could be very proud of. Right now, I don't believe Brighton Boulevard is that great entry that they want. So they were looking at that. They were also looking at the $100 million in economic impact that we generate in January, and they wanted to sustain that. The Museum of Nature and Science came forth. At the time, they did not have really a great idea of what they wanted to do in the plan, but they knew they wanted to be part of it, and we'll talk about what they settled on. Same with History Colorado. They knew it was important to be part of this plan and celebrate the history that the National Western is, as well as that entire area. And then finally, Colorado State University. They were the first partner in addition to us, and they are the leader in agricultural education in this region, and it only makes sense that they be part of this plan. So the 5 of us signed an MOU, and we all said, let's develop vision together. So the first things that we talked about in this visioning was we got to settle on what our immediate needs are going to be and call it phase 1 of the project. So we knew we needed a new livestock center for our show, for the National Western Stock Show, to show cattle, and then it needed to be a multi-purpose arena the rest of the year. We knew we needed a new livestock, a new equestrian center, and that equestrian center needed to be competitive across the country to get the world's greatest shows. We knew we needed new stockyards, so allow us some expansion at the National Western, and we knew it needed to be an events pavilion after January, so that was part of the plan. The riverfront became a crucial part of the plan. The South Platte, right on our border, is currently unusable. It needs cleaned up, it needs park space around it, and that is currently part of the plan, to redo the entire riverfront next to the facilities. And then CSU initially said, you know, we want to be part of a sports equine medical center, which would be attached to the equestrian center, and we can work on the horses that need work during the stock show, and then in the non-stock show time period as you're attracting all this new business. So that was the initial plan. I'll give you a little orientation to make sure you're oriented right here. It's the only time I'll turn my back, but I-70 right here, okay? And Brighton Boulevard is running right up through here, and the river, South Platte River, okay? So that's your border. Right now, the Denver Coliseum is right here to the north, or excuse me, to the south. So the entire development that we'll be working on, 270 acres, will be developed to the north side of Interstate 70. So as we kept continuing on, CSU came forth with a few more ideas. One was a CSU Center, which is that upper red box, kind of the larger one. And in that one, they thought we could do K through 12 education year-round. We could study best practices in farming and agriculture and livestock production in that building, and we can become an education center for K through 12. Secondly, the kind of the lower part of the screen there with the RAM on it is a water resources center. And so CSU will be developing that, best practices in water resources. How can the world get better at using water? And what are these steps that would need to be taken in order to make us better? So CSU has settled on those 3 areas. Later phases of the plan that will come in will be a new trade show hall. And that new trade show hall is right here. And then a new arena, which is right next to it. And the new trade show hall will be 450,000 square feet versus the 215,000 square feet we have today. At Stock Show, we turn away 500 applications a year to be an exhibitor at our Stock Show. So we have lots of room for growth there. The new arena that will host rodeo and then be a multi-purpose arena will be the replacement for the Denver Coliseum. That will have 10,000 seats and 40 suites, which will be very welcome. So the first phase, as I mentioned, infrastructure, South Platte River, improvement to the stockyards, and so forth. You can see that here. The reason we're showing you this screen is there will be new connections and new infrastructure brought into the site. The first is 2 connections across the Washington Boulevard of 51st Avenue, and one that's going to be, call it 49th. We're calling it Betty Cram Drive. Betty Cram has lived in the Elaria, Swansea, and Globeville neighborhood, which is where we are, for 92 years. So we are honoring her with a street named after her, and the city has wholeheartedly welcomed that. So with those new connections in, a new National Western Drive that will come across the river, and a new RTD Transit Plaza, which will be open in 2017, there will be much easier ingress and egress to our site than exists today. For those of you that travel down to our site, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And there will be much more parking. I refuse to say the word plentiful parking because it's going to be difficult to get plentiful, but there will be more parking opportunities. So here's just a picture of what it might look like, the transit from the Transit Plaza. Off in the distance there you have the Equestrian Center and the Livestock Center. Okay, so that's a good depiction from our architect. And here's another depiction of the yards. And off in the distance you would see again the Livestock Center and the Equestrian Center. So the yards you can see is a big swath of land. It's about 20 acres. And again, in the non-stock show time period, we take the pins down and that becomes an event pavilion. So phase 2, after we complete all the infrastructure and so forth, will be the Livestock and Equestrian Centers, and they can be built simultaneously. And these are some pictures of what they might look like. Right there's a shot of the Livestock Center with the adjoining space around it. And here is a shot of the Equestrian Center. And I'll get into more detail on what those buildings are briefly so you know how we will become competitive immediately for the shows across the globe. So once those phases are done, 1 and 2, 80% of the campus will be built. The only things that will be left are going to be the renovation of a couple of our buildings, which will be the Stadium Arena, which was the 1909 building I showed you at the beginning of this presentation. That will be preserved and historic designated. And then another piece that will be part of that is going to be a livestock exchange building, which was built in 1898, and it will be refurbished also. It sits right next to our yards currently, and then we will have to build the new arena and the new trade show hall. So 80% will be done as soon as phases 1 and 2 are done. So the expanded equestrian livestock programs that I'm alluding to, right now there's hundreds of shows going on in the livestock world and the equestrian world, and especially in the equestrian world, there are people that are bringing 5,000 to 7,000 people to these cities, like Columbus is a great example, staying for 3 weeks and driving economic impact numbers that are through the roof. We can't compete for those people today because we don't have the facilities to compete. They require thousands of stalls. We have 600 stalls. So the new plans for the Equestrian Center, 1,000 permanent stalls, but the ability to go to 3,000 stalls is in the plan. And 2 show arenas and multiple warm-up arenas. That's what you need to compete globally for this business. Livestock programs, hundreds happening across the country. From February to December, we will now be competitive for those livestock programs with our new Livestock Center. Also, the National Western Center will allow some amenities and new programs and expanded business opportunities. We've met with 20 associations that are in the agricultural business. They would like to be on our site in some manner, so we're looking at a building that would house all of the leaders in agriculture that want to be part of this. They can share resources, they can share conference rooms, potentially share receptionists, and share ideas all at the same time on campus. So we're very excited about that, and the Colorado Cattlemen's Association has signed on first, and they would like to build 60,000 square feet of office space on site. Next, the education programs. Colorado State University and the Museum of Nature and Science will predominantly be the leader of that. The Museum of Nature and Science is talking about a live archaeological dig on site right next to the river that will talk about the history of the region, and people can come down and experience that year-round. So we're very excited about that. Colorado State University, I've alluded to before, really hands-on educational programming in their buildings, where students K through 12 can take a field trip down in March, April, May, and actually see horses being worked on, for example. See livestock being worked on, which would be just a experience they could never get otherwise. So they're refining those programs as we get ready to start developing the site itself. The final part is art and culture. So So the 270 acres of this campus, this master plan, will be filled with great, great Western art and culture. And in fact, there's many that think we can develop it in such a way that people will come from all over just to see that art. And so we're excited about that. I'm certainly not that expert in that, so believe me, I'm not the one that's going to be deciding on what that is. So attendance projections based on all the studies that have been done, and there's been numerous ones. We're currently doing 222 events at the National Western Complex, including the one event, our biggest event, the National Western Stock Show. So attendance right now in the complex is about 1.2 million a year. The incremental projected attendance and shows is 101 new shows in the National Western Center and another million in attendance, culminating in 323 a year and almost 2.3 million. Economic impact estimates are from the 115 million the campus does an entire year, of which the National Western is 100 million, okay? The new campus will do over $230 million a year in economic impact based on these studies that have been done. So how's this all going to get paid for? I'm going to head right to the bottom line here. The National Western Stock Show, our association, has to raise $50 million. And our board is organizing now for that fundraiser. Likely in the next 6 months, we will start that fundraising campaign. CSU has come to the table with $16.2 million. The City and County of Denver, through the bond initiative and other sources, has committed to $668 million. And then we've been granted RTA funds, which is Regional Tourism Act funds, and they have granted $121 million to this project. So all in all, phases 1 and 2 will cost around $856 million. Now there's one piece of this you don't see up there. The legislature recently passed a bill that granted CSU, for the CSU Center and the Water Resource Center, up to $200 million that they can pull on from the state legislature. So this project in total is going to be around $1.1 billion when it is fully done and funded, which makes it the largest in the city and county of Denver outside of the airport. So how will the plan of finance happen? Basically, the state of Colorado, through the RTA funds, will generate those into DURA, the Denver Urban Renewal Authority. They will manage them down to the National Western Stock Show or National Western Center governance structure, which has us and the city and county of Denver and others on it, CSU included. And then the city will issue debt to fulfill their obligation, and that debt will be financed through the bond initiative 2C that passed. So it is a very solid revenue stream to bond against. The governance right now, we are governed by an executive oversight committee. So that's the green box up on the screen above where we were. We started with a report that was done by DURA. We all signed a memorandum of understanding. Then there was some project leadership committees that the mayor formed. Now we're at the executive oversight committee, of which Ron Williams and I serve on, along with CSU, along with some of the neighborhood individuals, and then the city has a few individuals on that committee as well. We will be the ones responsible for contracting with the engineers, architects, and so forth, and that process has started, which I'll get to in just a second. Ultimately, there will be a National Western Center authority that is formed, and that's likely to be happening in the next 12 months. And again, many of the same individuals that are on the oversight committee will be on the authority. So right now, what are we doing? Land acquisition is being done by the city. They have approximately 40 landowners in the master plan. They have closed 5 of them. They have 5 others that are verbally committed to be relocated, and they're negotiating with the other 30 currently. The plan would be to try to get all that land under control by the end of this year, and then we could move forward with building in 2017. And the first part, as you know, will be the new livestock center, the new yards and the new infrastructure that needs to be put in place. So the city is leading the effort on that for the land acquisition as we speak today. And the board ourselves at the National Western, between the board and the staff, the board's considering expansion. We're doing some strategic planning. We're looking at our mission and our vision, and obviously we have to go So with that, I am happy to answer a few questions, knowing that I'm sure some of you are short on time, but appreciate your attentiveness. 2 questions. Okay, here we go. Go ahead. Okay, so the question was, how does the I-70 expansion play into the National Western Stock Show development? And the answer to that is we will be trying to work together so that we minimize the impact as we're building here and they're building there. I'm being told maybe they start in 2018 on I-70 is the latest, but we are in concert with them to minimize the impact to our site for people to get in and get out. So we'll work with them. Yes?
What are the costs of operating and maintaining the facility after it's built? And has anyone determined the source of those funds?
That's a great question, because that is the albatross that we have today. We have a business model that cannot support the complex. So the great news about it is 2C, when it passed, dedicates $2 to $10 million a year to the renovation of both the Convention Center and the National Western Center. So the problems that we had, and again, the first 10 years of the complex after it's built, you're not really going to have much to do, frankly, as far as upkeep, because you'll have a lot of warranties in place and so forth with the builders. So this fund will be there and accessible when needed. So that will take care of the renovation of the complex forever. Right now, they're projecting around $33 million a year in income across the National Western Center, and about maybe $28 to $30 million in expenses. But that's not counting the $2 to $10 million that's coming in for the upkeep and the maintenance of the facility. So it will be a very sustainable business model. We, as the National Western, will be a 501c3 tenant of the complex, and we'll manage certain parts of it that we're experts in, like the equestrian side and the livestock side, and certainly we're managing the National Western Stock Show in January. So, okay, one more over in the corner.
What type of land acquisition issues do you have? What kind of land are you acquiring, and are there issues with neighbors in the neighborhood that you're working out ways to minimize the impact on this community?
Yeah, so the neighborhoods, the good news is we've been meeting with the neighborhoods for 3 years, once a month, every Thursday night, at the end of the month, every Thursday. And the neighbors have embraced this like no neighborhood I've ever worked with, frankly. They are so excited about the redevelopment of their entire area. They understand the economic benefits it might bring to them in jobs and so forth, and so we're working hand in hand with them. I'm not saying we're going to get 100%. You're never going to see a bad letter coming from a neighbor, but I can assure you that all the neighbors that are active are well behind this. The land acquisition, we're acquiring another 100 acres to the north, and those 100 acres we think are right now being very amicably negotiated by the city. We don't foresee many problems. I'm not saying again there won't be some, but the city will handle all of that. The National Western Association does not have the power of eminent domain. The city does. Well, thank you all for your attention. I appreciate the audience.
Paul, that was terrific. Thank you very much. And I also thank you for hosting Nancy and I in your box. It was a terrific evening. It was very enlightening for me because, sometimes truly wondered how organizations dare to put the word service with their name, like in military service, postal service, internal revenue service. It all came together when Nancy and I were in front of the champion, and 2 ranchers were discussing, and saying how many cows this bull could service. So Paul, that is a card there. We have inoculated 50 children against polio in your name. So thank you for being